Oh, folks, this is Jason Rogash. I just want to say that I am maybe the smartest person on the planet. No, but you know what? Sometimes you get moments in your life where you're like, oh, okay, I'm not so dumb. Recent article that I just read on MSNBC or an NBC report, Putin, Russia tried to help Trump by discrediting Clinton. Okay, we've heard this story over and over again. I'm not going to bore you. I'll leave the link to the article below. The 25, but I'm just going to read some choice parts of this that concerns me. That has to do with me. And you're like, what? Just follow along. The 25-page report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence called Assessing Russia's Activities and Intentions in Recent U.S. Elections offers the public a flavor of what officials say is much more detailed dossier of still secret evidence that led to all 17 American intelligence agencies to conclude that high confidence that the Russians, not the Chinese or a 400-pound hacker in his bedroom, as Trump famously put it, were behind an unprecedented cyber intrusion that some lawmaker have called an act of war. Emails of Democratic operatives were hacked and distributed through WikiLeaks in a way that political experts say was designed to inflict maximum political damage to Hillary Clinton's campaign. Now, look, I'm going to skip through this because let me just say something real quick. Has anybody seen the recent interviews with Sean Hannity, Captain Right Wing, Mr. America? He wears 37 flag lapels on his jackets at all times, so he knows what country he's from, and everybody else does. He goes and interviews a traitor like Julian Assange. He actually went to in Ecuador, the ambassador, and interviewed him. Now, I know Democracy Now! Did as well, but I expect Democracy Now! To. I expect leftist organizations, but a hardcore right-winger like Sean Hannity, because he goes down and he interviews Julian Assange, who is a traitor to the United States. I mean, if you're honest, I like what Julian Assange is doing. I think it's great. Get more information, but he's a traitor. Correct? That's why he's not in the United States. That's why that's right? Am I wrong? Is he not a criminal? And yet the most hardcore right-wing law and order motherfuckers on the planet are going down and interviewing him? Because and by the way, did you hear one bad word about Donald Trump beforehand from Julian Assange or WikiLeaks or Russia Today or anywhere? You didn't, did you? And this was my point that concerns me. I made a video. When this story popped out, go look at it. I'll leave a link to my sad little video. And I said, yes, when Donald Trump won and the 17 intelligence agencies of the United States came out and said, yes, this was hacked. I said, yes, Russia did influence. It's called Russia Today. And the United States government agrees with Jason Rogash. I'm amazed at this. They actually come to the same, me sitting and just observing on YouTube what Russia Today is doing. One guy in Anchorage, Alaska. And the entire apparatus of the intelligence community is basically saying the same thing. They go into some hacks, but they're not going to detail that information because a lot of people think that it was actually a DNC insider. There's people that are being discussed, like Dulcie Gabbard might have been one of the people, the representative from Hawaii. She might have been one of the leakers. They think that it might have been there's a couple of other people. There's a very pro-Ukrainian Democratic operative, and I cannot remember her name. I will get her name and I'll put it in the description below. She might be one of the leakers. This is all, but no, the United States government, okay, is agreeing with Jason Rogash that Russia Today influenced the elections. Now, I don't think, first of all, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes. If the FBI and the CIA really wanted to investigate what happened with this election, they should go into North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, and do recounts. And Florida, and investigate voter rigging. And the Jim Crow machines that Jill Stein has been talking about, how there was 70,000 votes in a predominantly black area in Michigan that will never be counted. That would, of course, given Hillary Clinton the presidential win. If the FBI and the CIA were really serious, they would investigate Republicans gerrymandering every district in this country. A great book by a guy by the name of David Daly called Rat Fucked. And I've talked about it before. I'm going to leave a link below to some articles he's done. Go read that book. Buy it. It's cheap. You can get it for under $20. It's a great read. And it shows how Republicans are actually stealing elections at the local level. That's why they're the majority of the House of Representatives, the majority in the Senate, and they have the presidency. Because they steal. Republicans are thieves. Conservatives are thieves. They steal. They're psychopaths. They don't have any empathy. They don't give a shit. All that matters is winning. From Lee Atwater to Karl Rove to your current malfeasance that are going on right now. They're stealing your elections, okay? That's what conservative Republicans are doing. And people like Alex Jones on the alternative right told you it was the exact opposite. Told you that Donald Trump had no chance because, of course, the system was going to steal it from Hillary Clinton's people, when Democrats have never stolen an election in the history of, that I can find, in the history of mankind. Don't give me your James O'Keefe bullshit, that hit piece shit that he does, and he interviewed some Democrats who want to win and talk shit. They don't gerrymander districts. They don't steal like the Republicans do. So if the FBI and the CIA were really serious about why we're having so much election fraud, you would wonder why a president gets 3 million votes and only twice has the Electoral College been used in the last 100 years, and it's benefited both Republicans, and it's been done in the last 17 years. That's what they should investigate. There's a problem right there. That's an anomaly, and that should be investigated. But I'm flattered, but also pissed off. Because if I can basically write this for a government that spends billions of dollars spying on us, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the intelligence operations that come out of the Pentagon, the 17 organizations, 17 different intelligence communities who basically came to the conclusion, and they didn't even do a very good job that I did. They didn't even go into it depth. They say, well, because Mike Flynn worked for Russia Today, and he knows Putin, and he sat next to Putin in a Russia Today gathering. Well, then obviously that's not why. The content of Russia Today is anti-American. That's the point, because it's Russian government. They embrace people like Jesse Ventura, Tom Hartman, other leftists that you would know, that you would love. That they bring them on Russia Today all the time. There's tons of people on Russia Today that I love and respect. Tons. But they're not pro-America. And they are not anti-Russian. Now look, if you're honest about Russia, if you're really honest, there is no threat from Russia militarily. Russia has done everything they can to not be a threat to the United States. You know how much Russia spends on their military? About $59 billion a year. 59. You know how much America spends on their military? Almost $700 billion. And that's just the official budget. That doesn't include all the supplemental packages. They spend less than $100 billion. They spend less than $60 billion on their military, and we spend $600 billion on ours. Okay, do you see the issue here? There is no threat. How many military bases does Russia have outside of Russia? 0. How many military bases does America have outside of America? 1,000, almost 1,000. So we can play this game. This is the military-industrial complex creating another Cold War with Russia because war is a racket. And Russia Today, for all their... I think Russia Today is playing right into what the American intelligence community wants. They want anti-American sentiment, so you believe that Russia's your enemy, so there's an enemy, so you can have never-ending war, because war is a racket. General Smedley Butler wrote a great book about it. It's been discussed over and over again, the military-industrial complex, Eisenhower's military-industrial complex, blah, 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 blah. And I try to mention this in every video because I want people to get this clear. The military is not a force for good. It's not a force for freedom. It's not bringing you freedoms or giving you things. It's stealing your money. It's killing poor people in other countries for their natural resources. That's it. There is no other reason. It doesn't need to exist. The military has it, and it knows it. So it must create an enemy. Terrorism is great, but terrorism isn't the enemy that we want it to be. Because all these terrorists, all these quote suicide bombers, there's not enough of them. They don't have a nation state behind them. As much as some of these terrorist organizations, were the ones that are coming out of Iran and other places, they're trying to create states. ISIS. What is it? Al-Haraza, what's the other one? Al-Nasra. There's a couple of others that I'm forgetting that are actually trying to create nation and are starting to have a lot of money behind them, but they're not nuclear, and they certainly don't have a government behind them in any significant way. They have intelligence communities behind them, funding them, from everyone from America to the Iranians. And so this article that I'm going to leave a link to just shows that you can sit and just watch this, and that's what they're doing. They're pulling stuff off the internet and saying, okay, well, WikiLeaks, we don't like WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks seemed to be the one releasing all this stuff, and WikiLeaks actually has signed a deal with Russia today. Okay, so because everything that Julian Assange is coming out with is about America and is about anti-American. Because of that, that's the nature of it. So, and by the way, I'm all for telling the truth. I'm as for the Russian government as I am for the American government. I hate the Russian government as much as I hate the American government. I don't trust governments, but at the same time, you have to be fair and balanced. To take Fox's phrase, and actually have to identify that, hey, you know what? This is the military-industrial complex doing exactly what it always does. And now they're blaming Russia today? I mean, I did it as, I said, yeah, they influence because they're influencing all those alternative right-wingers that watch Alex Jones and want their gun control and stack gold and silver with goofy designs on it for an 8% markup and all the shit that I always go through and all the repeat. I repeat it. That's what I was talking about. They actually are running with it on another level. Like, as Russia Today, because Russia Today is the largest uploader of videos on YouTube, and has roughly a little over 2 million subscribers. Somehow they influenced the American election to such a degree that it got Donald Trump elected. Number one, he didn't. He lost by 3 million votes. Number two, if you're really serious, FBI or military or CIA or anybody, investigate the gerrymandering and the election theft that the Republicans have been engaging in since 2000. Start in Florida and work your way north. And by the way, when I say that I came up with this or I had all I did, and I'm sure others, all I did was watch Russia Today. All I've done is observe the alternative right-wing media and watch what they've done. Whether it's coming from Vladimir Putin, which it is, because that's what Russia Today is, it would make sense. Just like when you watch Fox News, they're anti-Russia. Or they're not so much anymore because Donald Trump's been elected. But when you watch, I'm stunned to say this, but when you watch CNN or MSNBC, they're anti-Russian. They're trying to create a lot of people are calling it new McCarthyism. They're helping in this Cold War creation because their person lost. And if the military is anything, it's about psychological warfare. That's why those commercials that you see on television about being a force for good, an army of one, all of the shit that you see about how you can be a soldier and a student and a parent and a friend and all these things, it's a lie. You're a murdering nightmare for corporations. That's what you are. You're part of the American meat grinder that is the American military-industrial complex. That's all you are. You're a thug. You're a hired killer for corporations. That's it. Go read General Smedley Butler. He wrote that motherfucker after World War I or World War II. So, watching the military lie to us again to try to create an enemy that isn't there, Russia's doing everything they can to say, we're not your enemy. We're reducing our military spending. We spend less than $100 billion a year. You guys spend $700 billion a year. We're not even a threat. We're not even the second, third, fourth. Even Russia spends less than China, the UK, and India on their military. Russia's not even the second largest spender in the military anymore. So all of this is trying to create a new Cold War, and the American intelligence community actually is using publicly available information like Russia Today to give some kind of validity to the idea that Russia hacked the system and were dedicated to get Hillary Clinton not to be president, to get Donald Trump elected. And it may be true on some levels, but to use Russia Today, that's not intelligence gathering. That's watching fucking YouTube videos, right? Am I wrong about that? So I find it incredible that and then they're trying to connect it to Julian Assange, which I find Julian Assange's relationship with Fox News bizarre. I don't know if anybody else does, but this guy's supposed to be a traitor. If he had done what he did predominantly under George W. Bush, would he have been considered would they have given him wouldn't they have hung him as a terrorist? Same thing with Edward, but now all of a sudden these guys it's bizarre to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, and I know Democracy Now! And other people, but it's bizarre. And I'm not saying, and the Russia Today deal with WikiLeaks, which is the only media outlet that has a deal with WikiLeaks supposedly, or is trying to get a deal with WikiLeaks, or has a deal with WikiLeaks, murky. The American intelligence community, for all the money that we spent, I think they're lying. And I think all they did was try to create a bunch of excuses that already were there, and that watched Russia Today videos and said, we can pin this on Russia Today, as I did Jason Rogash, asshole, Anchorage, Alaska, with no, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, but if I could observe that, they spent all of that money, all of that intelligence money, all of that resource ability, all those human beings doing all that work, and they came up with the same exact conclusion I did, which is publicly available, so there was no Russian hacking. It was just their opinion and their desire. So why don't you blame Fox News for trying to get for Trump to get elected too? Why don't you blame MSNBC for trying to get Hillary Clinton elected? I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing? But Russia was unduly. Why don't we blame the BBC for wanting? I mean, you could blame any news. What? But Russia today was the bizarre, and seems to me like the military-industrial complex is trying to create a new Cold War. Thank you for listening, and you're welcome. I'm just kidding. Thanks for listening.